The rain was falling hard outside the space station when little Zara finally found the courage to knock on the door. Her small purple hands were shaking as she stood in the empty hallway. The lights above her head were dimming because it was getting late and most people were already sleeping. 3 days had passed since her mother died. 3 long, scary days where Zara had been hiding in the old storage rooms, eating the little bit of food she had left in her bag. She was only 12 years old, and she had never been alone like this before. Zara belonged to a race called the Kelari. They looked different from humans. They had purple skin that seemed to glow a little in the dark, and their eyes were much bigger than human eyes. They were also much shorter. Even though Zara was 12, she was only as tall as a human 8-year-old. Her mother, Dr. Lissa, had been the only scientist from their planet who worked with humans. Most of her people were afraid of humans and didn't trust them. But her mother was different. She always said that humans had good hearts, even if they looked strange to Kelari eyes. When the sickness came to their small community on the space station, it spread very fast. The Kelari people didn't have strong bodies like humans did. One by one, families started getting sick. Zara's mother tried her best to help everyone as a doctor, but the sickness was too strong. On her last day, when her mother could barely speak, she had grabbed Zara's hand with her weak fingers. Her voice was so quiet that Zara had to put her ear close to her mother's mouth to hear the words, "Find Dr. James," her mother whispered. "Building 7, Level 3. He worked with me in the plant lab. He understands what it feels like to lose family. He will help you." Zara had never met this Dr. James before, but her mother spoke about him sometimes. She said he was kind and that he loved studying plants just like she did. But Zara was still scared. What if he didn't want to help her? What if he was afraid of her like some humans were? For 3 days, she had been too frightened to go find him. She kept hoping that maybe some other Kelari adults would come looking for her, or that somehow everything would go back to normal. But deep down, she knew that wasn't going to happen. All the other Kelari families had either died from the sickness or had already left the station to find safer places. Now, standing outside Dr. James's door, Zara felt more alone than ever. She was holding her mother's research tablet close to her chest. It was the only thing she had left that reminded her of home. In her other hand, she carried a small bag with her few clothes and the last bit of the special food that Kelari people needed to eat. Zara had a special ability that all Kelari children had. She could feel other people's emotions, and sometimes, when she was very upset, she could accidentally make other people feel her emotions too. Right now, her sadness was so big that it was like invisible waves coming from her body. A few people had walked past her in the hallway, and they had suddenly stopped and looked around, feeling confused about why they suddenly felt so sad. She pressed her small fist against the door one more time. This time, she knocked harder. She could hear footsteps inside, and her heart started beating very fast. What would she say? How could she explain everything in the human language when she was so scared and sad? The door made a soft whooshing sound as it opened. A tall human man stood there, looking down at her with surprise. He had kind brown eyes and gray hair, and he was wearing a white coat that scientists usually wore. He was holding a cup of something hot, and steam was rising from it. For a moment, neither of them said anything. Dr. James looked confused, probably wondering why a small alien child was standing at his door so late at night. Zara looked up at him, trying to find the right words in the human language. "Please," she finally said, her voice very quiet and shaky. The translator device on her ear was having trouble working because she was so upset. "Can I please stay with you? My mother died today. She said you would understand what it means to lose everything." The words came out wrong, and she knew her accent made it hard to understand her. But she saw something change in the human's face. His eyes became soft, and his mouth opened a little, like he was surprised and sad at the same time. Dr. James put his cup down on a small table near the door. Without saying anything, he stepped to the side and made the doorway bigger so she could come in. "Of course, little one." he said in a gentle voice. Come in. You don't have to stand out there anymore. Zara felt tears starting to fall from her big purple eyes. For the first time in 3 days, someone had been kind to her. Someone had opened their door and told her she could come in. She stepped into the warm room, and Dr. James closed the door behind her. The human's home was very different from what she was used to. Everything was much bigger than in Kalari homes. The chairs were too tall for her, and the lights were much brighter than she liked. But it felt safe and warm, and it smelled like the plants that her mother used to study. Are you hungry, Dr. James asked, speaking slowly so she could understand. I don't know what your people like to eat, but I have some fruit and bread. Zara shook her head. Kalari people couldn't eat human food. It would make her very sick. But she was touched that he wanted to help her. I have food, she said, holding up her small bag. But thank you. Dr. James nodded and smiled. What's your name, Zara? She said quietly. My mother was Dr. Lissa Catherine. She worked with you in the plant lab. The man's face changed again. Now he looked very sad. Lissa was your mother. Oh, child, I'm so sorry. She was a wonderful scientist and a good friend. She talked about you all the time. Zara felt her heart get a little bit warmer. Her mother had talked about her to this human. That meant her mother really did trust him. She told me to find you, Zara said. She said you would understand. Dr. James sat down in one of his big chairs, trying to make himself closer to her height. Your mother was right. I do understand. I lost my family too, many years ago, and I know how scary it feels to be alone. Zara looked at this kind human man and felt something she hadn't felt in days. Hope, maybe, just maybe, she wasn't completely alone after all. Maybe her mother had been right about humans having good hearts. Can I really stay here? She asked, hardly believing it could be true. Yes, Dr. James said without any doubt in his voice. You can stay as long as you need to. We'll figure everything out together. As Zara stood in that warm room, holding her mother's tablet and looking at this human who had opened his door to her, she felt like maybe everything would be okay. It wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't be the same as having her mother back. But for the first time since her mother died, she felt like she might have a future again. The first morning was harder than either Dr. James or Zara expected. When the artificial sunlights came on in the space station, Zara was still wide awake. She had been sitting by the window all night, watching the stars and trying not to cry. Her people were naturally awake during the night and slept during the day, which was completely opposite to humans. Dr. James woke up to find the small purple girl curled up in the corner of his living room, looking exhausted but unable to sleep. Her big eyes were red from crying, and she was holding her mother's tablet like it was the most precious thing in the world. Good morning, Zara, he said softly, trying not to startle her. Did you sleep at all? She shook her head. Kalari people sleep when the sun is high. Nighttime is when we are awake and active. I tried to be quiet so I wouldn't wake you up. Dr. James felt his heart break a little more. This poor child had been sitting alone all night, probably feeling scared and missing her mother, just trying to be polite and not disturb him. You don't have to be quiet, he said. This is your home now too. If you're awake at night, you can watch the screen or read or even come talk to me if you need to. The next few weeks were full of small challenges that neither of them had thought about. Everything in Dr. James's home was made for someone who was 6 feet tall. Not for feet tall like Zara. She couldn't reach the food maker, couldn't get into the shower properly, and the bed was so high that she needed to climb onto a chair first. Dr. James spent his first day off shopping for things to make the apartment work better for both of them. He bought a small step stool for the kitchen, got a lower bed that would be more comfortable for Zara, and even found some soft cushions to make the big chairs the right size for her. But the biggest challenge was food. Kalari people ate completely different things than humans. They needed special minerals and fungi that grew on their home planet. Dr. James had to contact the station's farming section and ask them to grow these special foods in their plant labs. I'm sorry I'm so much trouble, Zara said one evening as Dr. James was preparing her special meal. She was sitting at the table, swinging her short legs because they didn't reach the floor. "You're not trouble at all," Dr. James said firmly. "Every person has different needs. When I was a young scientist, I couldn't eat most foods because they made me sick. My grandmother had to cook special meals for me every day. That's what families do for each other." Zara looked up at him with surprise. "You think of me as family?" Dr. James stopped what he was doing and sat down next to her. "Zara, family isn't just about having the same color skin or coming from the same planet. Family is about caring for each other and being there when someone needs help. Your mother trusted me to take care of you, and I want to do that." But not everyone on the space station felt the same way. Some of the other humans would stare when Dr. James and Zara walked through the hallways together. They would whisper to each other and point. Zara's special ability to feel emotions meant she could sense what they were thinking, and it made her very sad. "They think I don't belong here," she told Dr. James one day after they had visited the station's learning center. "They wonder why. A human is taking care of an alien child. They think you should send me away." Dr. James felt angry, but he tried not to show it because he knew Zara would feel his anger through her special ability. What other people think doesn't matter. What matters is what we think. "Do you feel safe here?" "Yes," Zara said quietly. "Do you feel cared for?" "Yes." "Then that's all that matters." Some people are afraid of things that are different. But the best humans are the ones who aren't afraid to learn about new things and new people. As the weeks went by, something wonderful started to happen. Zara began helping Dr. James in his plant laboratory. Her mother had taught her a lot about plants and science before she died, and Zara had inherited her mother's very smart mind. The first time Zara helped solve a problem that had been puzzling Dr. James for months. He was amazed. She looked at his research about why certain plants wouldn't grow properly and immediately saw something he had missed. "The soil has too much iron," she said, studying the numbers on his computer screen. "On my planet, we learned that this type of plant needs less iron and more copper. Try changing the mineral mix." Dr. James tried her suggestion, and it worked perfectly. The plant started growing healthy and strong. "How did you know that?" he asked, looking at her with new respect. "My mother taught me. She said that understanding plants is like understanding people. You have to know what they need to be happy and healthy." Soon, other scientists on the station started hearing about the brilliant young Kalari who was helping. In the plant lab, Dr. Rodriguez from the engineering section came to ask Zara's opinion about a problem with the air cleaning system. Dr. Kim from the medical center wanted to know if Zara could help her understand how Kalari medicine worked. Each time Zara helped someone, she felt a little bit better about herself. She started to realize that being different wasn't always a bad thing. Sometimes being different meant you could see solutions that others couldn't see. One evening, as they were working together in the lab, Zara asked Dr. James a question that had been bothering her. "Why do you help me, really? Some of the other humans say I'm just a burden that you have to carry. They say you would be happier without me here." Dr. James put down the plant he was examining and looked at her seriously. "Zara, do you remember what I told you about my grandmother taking care of me when I was young?" She nodded. "Well, after my grandmother died, I was very lonely for a long time. I focused only on my work and didn't let many people get close to me. But then your mother came to work here, and she became my friend. She taught me that it was okay to care about people again. And now you're here, and you've brought something into my life that I didn't even know I was missing." "What's that?" Zara asked. "Purpose," Dr. James said with a smile. "Taking care of you, watching you learn and grow, seeing how smart and kind you are. It makes me remember why I became a scientist in the first place. I wanted to help make the universe a better place, and helping you is the most important work I've ever done." Zara felt tears in her eyes, but they were happy tears this time. Through her special ability, she could feel that Dr. James was telling her the complete truth. He really did want her there. He really did think of her as family. "Dr. James," she said quietly, "yes, thank you for letting me stay, and thank you for making me feel like I belong somewhere again." "You don't need to thank me, Zara. You belong here because this is your home now, and I'm not going anywhere." As they continued working together under the soft lights of the plant lab, surrounded by growing things and the quiet hum of the space station, both of them felt something they hadn't felt in a long time. They felt like they were exactly where they were supposed to be, taking care of each other and building something beautiful together. 6 months had passed since Zara first knocked on Dr. James's door. Life had become comfortable and happy for both of them. Zara had learned to speak human language much better, and Dr. James had learned some basic Kalari words. They had morning routines, shared meals, and spent their evenings working together in the plant laboratory. Zara was growing taller and stronger. Her purple skin had a healthy glow again, and she smiled much more often. She had even made friends with some of the other children on the station through the computer learning programs. Everything seemed perfect. Then one morning, everything changed. Dr. James was preparing Zara's breakfast when his door chimed. He opened it to find 3 people in official Earth government uniforms. Standing in the hallway, the woman in front had short black hair and cold gray eyes. She held a tablet with lots of official-looking documents on it. "Dr. James Chen?" she asked in a business-like voice. "Yes, that's me," Dr. James replied, feeling worried about why government officials would be at his door so early. "I'm Director Lisa Webb from Earth Central's Alien Affairs Department. We need to talk about the unauthorized alien miner living in your quarters." Dr. James felt his heart sink. He had been so focused on taking care of Zara and making her happy that he had forgotten about the official paperwork and permissions that governments always wanted. "Please come in," he said, stepping aside. "But I should tell you that Zara is not unauthorized. Her mother asked me to care for her before she died." Director Webb walked into the apartment with the 2 other officials. They looked around the room, taking notes on everything they saw. One of them took pictures of Zara's bed, her toys, and her special food containers. Zara was hiding in the kitchen, listening to everything. Through her special ability to feel emotions, she could sense that these people were not friendly. They felt cold and angry, like they didn't want to be there and didn't care about her at all. "Dr. Chen," Director Webb said, reading from her tablet, "this situation is highly irregular. The child needs to be placed in proper government care. There's a Kelari refugee ship that arrived at Titan Station last month. She should be with her own people, where she can learn about her culture and heritage. But she's happy here," Dr. James said, trying to stay calm. "She's learning, she's healthy, and she's contributing to our scientific research. Why would you want to move her?" "It's not about what we want," Director Webb replied coldly. "It's about following proper procedures. You're not qualified to care for an alien child. You don't understand her psychological needs, her cultural requirements, or her educational necessities." From the kitchen, Zara felt like the world was falling apart all over again. Just when she had started to feel safe and loved, these strangers wanted to take her away from the only family she had left. She could feel Dr. James's emotions too. He was scared and angry, but trying hard to stay calm. "What if I don't want to go?" Zara asked quietly, stepping out from the kitchen. All 3 officials turned to look at her, and she could feel their surprise that she spoke human language so well. "Child," Director Webb said in a voice that was supposed to sound kind, but didn't. "You don't understand what's best for you. You need to be with other Kalari people who can teach you about your own culture. This human cannot provide what you need. He provides everything I need," Zara said, her voice getting stronger. "He takes care of me when I'm sick. He helps me with my learning. He listens when I'm sad about my mother. He makes me feel safe." "That's not the point," one of the other officials said. "There are rules and laws about these things. You can't just live with any human who wants to take care of you." Dr. James stepped forward, putting his hand gently on Zara's shoulder. "Director Webb, I understand that you have procedures to follow, but this child has been through enough trauma. She lost her mother, her entire community, everything she knew. Now you want to take her away from the stable home she's finally found?" "The Kalari refugees on Titan Station have also lost family members," Director Webb replied. "They understand her pain in ways you never could. they can help her heal properly. That night, after the officials left, Zara couldn't stop crying. She had tried to be brave during the meeting, but now she was terrified. Dr. James sat with her, holding her small hand while she sobbed. "Are you going to let them take me away?" she asked through her tears. "Did I do something wrong? Have I been too much trouble?" Dr. James felt his heart breaking. This wonderful, brilliant child thought she had done something wrong. "Zara, listen to me very carefully," he said, kneeling down so they were eye to eye. "You have done nothing wrong. You are the best thing that has happened in my life, and no one is taking you anywhere unless you want to go. But the director said you have to follow the law. Some laws are wrong," Dr. James said firmly. "And when laws try to separate families, good people have a responsibility to fight those laws. But what if they force me to go?" Dr. James was quiet for a moment, thinking hard. Then he looked at Zara with determination in his eyes. "Then we'll fight them, not with violence, but with truth. We'll show them and everyone else what a real family looks like." Over the next few days, Dr. James began working harder than he had ever worked in his life. But he wasn't working on plant research. He was working to save his daughter. He started gathering evidence of everything Zara had accomplished since living with him. Her perfect scores on all her learning programs, the scientific problems she had helped solve, the friendships she had made with other children, the way she had brought joy and curiosity to everyone who met her. He contacted other scientists on the station and asked them to write letters about Zara's contributions. He reached out to colleagues on other space stations who had heard about the brilliant young Kalari working in the plant lab. Most importantly, he contacted other mixed families throughout the galaxy, humans who had adopted alien children, aliens who had adopted human children, and families made up of different species working together. "We're going to show them," Dr. James told Zara as they worked late into the night, preparing their case. "We're going to show them that love doesn't care about what planet you come from or what color your skin is." Zara looked up from the computer, where she was typing her own statement about why she wanted to stay. "What if it doesn't work? What if they still try to take me away?" Dr. James smiled at her, and she could feel through her special ability that he was telling the truth when he said, "Then we'll keep fighting, because that's what families do. They don't give up on each other, no matter how hard things get." As they prepared for the fight of their lives, neither Dr. James nor Zara knew that their story was already spreading throughout the space station. Other families, other children, other scientists were all watching to see what would happen. Some were making their own plans to help, because sometimes, when good people are threatened by unfair rules, the best thing that can happen is for other good people to stand up and say, "This is wrong, and we won't let it happen." The hearing was scheduled for the following week, but Dr. James and Zara weren't going to face it alone. The day of the hearing arrived faster than anyone wanted. The main conference room on the space station had been converted into a courtroom for the day. Long tables were set up facing each other, with Director Webb and her legal team on one side, and Dr. James and Zara on the other. Zara had never been so nervous in her life. She was wearing her best clothes, a simple blue dress that Dr. James had bought for her, and she was holding her mother's research tablet for courage. Through her special ability to feel emotions, she could sense that the room was full of tension and worry. Director Webb looked confident and prepared. She had stacks of papers, legal documents, and official regulations spread out in front of her. She had brought 2 lawyers and a social worker who specialized in alien children. They all looked very serious and professional. On Dr. James's side of the room, things looked much simpler. He had his own stack of papers, but they were filled with letters, photos, and reports about Zara's life on the station. He looked nervous but determined. "This hearing will decide the custody arrangement for the minor alien Zara Catherine," announced Commander Torres, the station's leader who was acting as the judge. "Director Webb, you may present your case first." Director Webb stood up and walked to the center of the room. She spoke in a clear, official voice that made everything sound very important and serious. "Commander Torres, This case is about following proper procedures and doing what's truly best for this child. She began, while Dr. James may have good intentions, he is not qualified to raise a Kellari child. He doesn't understand her species, psychology, cultural needs, or educational requirements. She pulled out a tablet and began reading statistics and regulations. According to Galactic Child Welfare Code 247b, alien children must be placed with families of their own species whenever possible. The Kellari refugee community on Titan Station has specifically requested that Zara be brought to them. Director Webb continued for several minutes, talking about laws and procedures and what she called proper placement protocols. Her voice was calm and professional, but Zara could feel that she didn't really care about Zara as a person. She just wanted to follow the rules. When Director Webb finished, Commander Torres nodded to Dr. James. Dr. Chen, you may present your case. Dr. James stood up slowly. Zara could feel his nervousness, but also his love for her and his determination to protect her. He walked to the center of the room and looked directly at Commander Torres. Commander, with respect to Director Webb and her regulations, this case isn't about paperwork or procedures. It's about a child who has already lost everything once, and whether we're going to make her lose everything again. Then something unexpected happened. The door to the conference room opened, and Chief Engineer Rodriguez walked in. He was carrying a tablet and looked very determined. Commander Torres, he said, I have something important to say about this case. Director Webb looked annoyed. This is highly irregular. This hearing is supposed to be a closed proceeding. But Commander Torres held up his hand. I'll allow it. Go ahead, Rodriguez. Chief Engineer Rodriguez cleared his throat and began to speak. 3 months ago, we had a critical problem with our power systems. Our main computers couldn't figure out why the energy distribution was failing. We tried everything, and nothing worked. Then Dr. James brought young Zara to look at our data. He looked at Zara with a smile. This 12-year-old girl took one look at our power flow charts and immediately saw the problem. She understood the mathematical relationships that our best engineers had missed. Because of her help, we prevented a station-wide power failure that could have been dangerous for everyone. Before Director Webb could object, the door opened again. This time it was Dr. Kim from the medical center. She was also carrying papers and looked just as determined as Rodriguez. Commander, I also have testimony about Zara, she said. When I was struggling to develop new treatments for the rare illness affecting some of our crew members, Zara provided insights about Kellari biology that helped me create a cure. She didn't just help her own people, she helped save human lives too. One by one, more people began entering the room. Teacher Martinez from the education department talked about how Zara had become a bridge between human and alien children in their virtual classes, helping everyone learn about friendship and acceptance across different species. Captain Hayes, the station's military commander, surprised everyone by standing up to speak. Director Webb, he said in his strong, authoritative voice, in my 20 years of military service, I've seen many attempts to bring different species together. Most of them fail because people focus on their differences. But this child has shown us something different. He gestured toward Zara. She's shown us how to focus on what we share, curiosity, kindness, the desire to help others. She's made every person on this station a better human being just by being herself. But the most surprising moment came when the large viewing screen in the room suddenly came to life. On the screen were dozens of children, both human and alien, from all over the station. They had organized themselves to speak about their friend Zara. A young human boy named Tommy was the first to speak. Zara helped me with my math homework. When I was failing, she didn't have to, but she stayed after class every day until I understood. A small alien girl with green skin spoke next. When the older kids were making fun of me because I looked different, Zara stood up for me. She told them that being different makes us special, not weird. One by one, child after child spoke about how Zara had helped them, been kind to them, or taught them something important. Some talked about how she had helped them with schoolwork. Others talked about how she had been a friend when they were lonely. Director Webb looked increasingly uncomfortable as the testimonies continued. This wasn't going the way she had planned at all. Finally, Commander Torres asked Zara herself to speak. The small purple girl stood up on shaky legs and walked to the center of the room. The new translator that Dr. James had gotten for her worked perfectly, carrying every emotion in her voice. Director Webb, she began, looking directly at the stern woman. I understand that you think I would be happier with the Kalari refugees. But happiness isn't about being with people who look like you. Her voice grew stronger as she continued. Happiness is about being with people who love you, who believe in you, who help you become the best person you can be. Dr. James doesn't just take care of me, he sees me for who I really am. Zara paused, and through her empathic abilities, everyone in the room could feel the depth of her love and gratitude. Several people wiped tears from their eyes. The Kalari refugees are survivors, and I respect their strength, she continued. But Dr. James didn't just help me survive. He helped me live again. He helped me find hope and purpose and joy. She looked around the room at all the people who had come to support her. And he didn't just give me a father. He gave me a whole community of people who care about me. This is my family now. This is my home. When Zara finished speaking, the room was completely silent. Even Director Webb's lawyers were looking uncomfortable. The evidence was overwhelming. Not just the legal documents and testimonies, but the obvious love and happiness that filled the room when people talked about Zara and Dr. James together. Commander Torres called for a short break, and when everyone returned, Director Webb's expression had changed completely. The cold, professional mask was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like understanding. After the break, Director Webb walked back into the conference room looking like a completely different person. The cold, stern expression was gone from her face. Instead, she looked thoughtful and maybe even a little sad. Zara could feel through her special ability that something had changed in the director's emotions. Director Webb stood up slowly and looked around the room at all the faces staring back at her. She saw Dr. James holding Zara's hand, the station crew members who had come to support them, and the children still watching through the video screen. Commander Torres, she began, her voice much quieter than before. I need to say something before you make your decision. She turned to look directly at Zara and Dr. James. When I came here today, I thought this case was simple. I had regulations to follow, procedures to enforce, and a job to do. I believe that following the rules was the same thing as doing what was right. Director Webb paused and took a deep breath. I was wrong. A murmur of surprise went through the room. Even Dr. James looked shocked. This was not what anyone had expected her to say. In my 15 years working in alien affairs, Director Webb continued, I have seen many cases of children being placed in what we call appropriate homes. I have followed every regulation, filled out every form, and made sure every procedure was followed correctly. She looked down at her hands, and Zara could feel that she was remembering something painful. But I have never seen anything like what I witnessed here today. I have never seen a child who was so clearly loved, so obviously thriving, and so completely at home. Director Webb walked over to where Zara was sitting. She knelt down so she could look into the young girl's big purple eyes. Zara, she said gently, I owe you an apology. I came here thinking I knew what was best for you without actually knowing you at all. That was wrong of me. Zara looked at this woman who had seemed so scary just hours before. Now she could feel that Director Webb was being completely honest and that she truly was sorry. It's okay, Zara said quietly. You were trying to do your job. You didn't know about my family here. That's exactly right, Director Webb said, standing up again. I didn't know about your real family. She turned to face Commander Torres. Commander, after reviewing all the evidence presented today, and after witnessing the obvious love and support surrounding this child, I am officially withdrawing my recommendation for placement change. The room erupted in cheers and applause. Dr. James felt tears running down his face as he pulled Zara into a tight hug. Through the video screen, they could hear children cheering and celebrating. But Director Webb held up her hand. I'm not finished yet. The room grew quiet again. Dr. Chen, she said, looking at Dr. James. While I am withdrawing my objection to Zara living with you, there is still the matter of making this arrangement official and permanent. Dr. James felt his heart skip a beat. What do you mean? I mean, Director Webb said with the first smile anyone had seen from her all day, that if you and Zara both want it, I am prepared to immediately approve formal adoption procedures. This would make Zara legally your daughter, with all the rights and protections that come with that status. Dr. James couldn't speak for a moment. He looked down at Zara, who was staring up at him with hope shining in her eyes. Zara, he said, his voice shaky with emotion, what do you think? Would you like me to officially adopt you? Would you like to legally be my daughter? Zara felt like her heart might burst with happiness. Does this mean what I think it means? It means, Dr. James said, kneeling down to her level, that you would never have to worry about anyone trying to take you away again. It means that you would be my daughter forever, not just until some government official changes their mind. It means you can stay with me for as long as you want. Forever, Zara whispered. Forever, Dr. James confirmed. Zara threw her arms around Dr. James's neck and hugged him as tightly as she could. Yes, she said, laughing and crying at the same time. Yes, I want that more than anything in the whole universe. The room exploded in celebration again. People were cheering, clapping, and wiping tears from their eyes. Through her empathic ability, Zara could feel waves of joy and love coming from everyone around her. Commander Torres stood up and smiled broadly. Then it's official. Dr. James Chen, you are hereby approved for immediate adoption of Zara Catherine. Congratulations to both of you. As the paperwork was being prepared, Director Webb approached Dr. James and Zara one more time. Dr. Chen, she said, I hope you know that what you've done here is extraordinary. You didn't just save a child, you showed all of us what it really means to be human. What do you mean? Dr. James asked. You showed us that being human isn't about what planet you come from or what you look like. Director Webb explained. Being human is about having the courage to love someone who needs you, even when it's difficult or complicated. She looked at Zara. And you, young lady, have taught me something very important too. What's that? Zara asked. You've taught me that families aren't made by matching DNA or following regulations. Families are made by choice, love, and the willingness to stand by each other no matter what challenges come. 1 year later, Dr. Zara Catherine Chen was working in the plant laboratory alongside her father when a message came through on their computer. It was from a scientific journal accepting her first research paper for publication. Dad, she called excitedly, using the word that still made both of them smile every time she said it. They want to publish our research about cross-species plant adaptation. Dr. James hurried over to read the message at the bottom. He saw the dedication that Zara had written to Dr. Lisa Catherine, my birth mother, who taught me that love can cross any distance between stars, and to Dr. James Chen, my chosen father, who taught me that family is about the people who choose to love you forever. Are you happy with that dedication? Zara asked, suddenly looking a little worried. Dr. James pulled his daughter into a hug. It's perfect, just like you. As they stood together in their laboratory, surrounded by the growing plants they both loved to study, Dr. James thought about the scared little girl who had knocked on his door just over a year ago. That frightened child had grown into a confident, brilliant, happy young woman who brought joy to everyone she met. Dad, Zara said, interrupting his thoughts. Yes, sweetheart, thank you. For what? For opening your door that night, for letting me stay, for choosing me to be your family. Dr. James smiled and looked at his daughter, not the alien child he had taken in, but his daughter, the most important person in his life. Zara, he said, I need to thank you too. For what? For knocking on my door, for trusting me with your heart, for showing me that the best families aren't the ones you're born into. They're the ones that choose to love you forever. And in that moment, surrounded by life and growth and love, both father and daughter knew that they had found exactly where they belonged. Together, forever as a family that had been built not by chance, but by choice, courage, and an endless capacity for love. The story of the human who said you can stay forever to a frightened alien child became legend throughout the galaxy, not because it was unusual, but because it reminded everyone of the most beautiful truth about humanity, that their greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons, but their infinite ability to love and protect those who needed them most.